What's up? What's up? There's always that weird pause between the video ending and me talking. But anyway, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Hangout. I'm BJ Kicks, your host. I buy comics, I read them, and I review them, all for your viewing pleasure. If you're here, say what's up in the chat. This is the Hangout. This is a live show that we do. And I'm going to go ahead and say it every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, we're back. We're back. This is the second week in a row of the Hangout, even though we've done quite a few of these over the last year or so. Enterprises is here. Buckmaster B was here to find out about the murder. That's a weird way to say that. I hope YouTube doesn't demonetize me over it. Tyler Smith, what's up? With the Japanese cherry blossoms. That's what's up. James says, Hangout 2 weeks in a row. Your new AC unit must be working correctly. Yes, it's working much better. Much better. It's actually kind of chilly in here, which is funny. But yeah, my man Dre's here. What's up, Dre? Chris Parton's here. What's up, Chris? J Pop's here. What's up, dude? Batman drinking a coffee. Gotta love it. Let's see. My phone's ringing in my pocket. What's this mean? Oh, okay. So, BRB about to start a true crime podcast now that I found out about the murder. That's hilarious. I never got into true crime podcasts. I did listen to one about the Clinton and Lewinsky scandal, but also about, it's not Watergate. What was the Clinton Gate scandal that happened before? I don't know. But anyway, that's the only time I listened to like a crime podcast. It was very intriguing. But yeah. Let's see. So we're here. Thank you guys for being here at the Hangout. I'm very excited. Let's see. Sean Kashaw says, hey, BJ, did you read the 2022 Gambit series? No, but I did buy it. Only issue 1 is out, and it came out like, I want to say 2 weeks ago. I bought it because it had a really cool In-Hyuk Lee variant. I started reading it in Marvel Unlimited, and I immediately stopped because there's an editor's note here or a writer's note here that basically says this issue takes place right after. Yeah. The story takes place in the previously unexplored time period only glimpsed during Uncanny X-Men 267. And I haven't gotten that far in my original Claremont X-Men reading, so I figured I would save this for later. Once the first appearance of Gambit comes in 266, then I'll start reading this Gambit series because that just seems appropriate. But so the long answer and short answer is no. Watergate scandal. I'm trying to remember. I think it's the Whitewater. That's what it was. Whitewater scandal. Yeah. Began with an investigation into the real estate investments of Bill and Hillary Clinton and their associates. And then, like, somebody associated with it died or something. Like, something weird happened. I don't remember why. But all of this is where the Lewinsky thing even, like, came from, apparently. Whatever. It's not super important. It's history, though, and I'm a nerd, so that's why I learned about it. Gabriel Riggenberg, what's up, man? Gabriel's got a woodworking business, and it's dope. Think about the future. Gosh, that sounds so familiar. Is it Batman Returns? I don't know. I'm terrible at, like, just straight up trivia like that. What up, Kicks? Just saw that Milestone doc on HBO. Pretty solid. What are your thoughts? I thought about doing like a video reviewing the doc. That feels like might be overkill. But My thoughts on the documentary. 1 hour was not long enough to tell the story of Milestone. I think for me and others like me who have kind of just dove headfirst into Milestone's history and like absorbed all that there was out there. Like there was that Robert Kirkman TV episode. Um, and there's like a couple of like mini docs on, I think The Variant did one, and another channel did like a mini Milestone doc where they interviewed a lot of the same people who were interviewed in this Milestone Generations documentary. So for people who had like absorbed the story of Milestone, there wasn't a lot that was new. It does touch on one thing that I found particularly insightful was it touches on like how the last days went as Milestone was sort of finishing up publishing. It talks about DC withholding, oh, excuse me, spoilers for Milestone Generations um, to follow. But yeah, so they talked about like how the relationship between DC and Milestone deteriorated and some of the effects of that relationship going sour. Um, I think because Milestone is publishing again, we're never gonna get like the full kind of post-mortem that I would want as like a history fan. Like I want to know who did what, who said what, and how it all went down, right? And I don't think, for two reasons. One is that Milestone is still publishing, but also Dwayne McDuffie is no longer with us. I think if Dwayne McDuffie was here, like he would have told all these stories already. But also because Dwayne McDuffie's dead, you have to be careful how you talk about Milestone because it can be seen as like downplaying someone's contributions or to society, and it's particularly in poor taste to do that um, when the man is dead. So there's that part. So there's all that I feel like kind of I would have wanted to see. The other part of that is there has been a lot of, I would call it controversy, but it's not there's not enough people that care about this to this level to really call it like this big controversy. But for years, people have been kind of just throwing different stories out about who contributed what to Milestone. Like there are rumors that Dwayne McDuffie had the idea for Static while he was at Marvel, and he just brought that to Milestone. A lot of times, Dennis Cowan doesn't get his just due as the one who originated the idea for the Milestone company. And then along with that, you don't hear a lot about the roles of the other founders. You hear about Dennis and you hear about Dwayne because they very much are largely the creative engine behind what Milestone became. But with Derek Dingle and Michael Davis, with Derek Dingle, it's easy to say, oh, he did all the business. But with Michael Davis, who was the fourth co-founder, there are a lot of like unanswered questions about his role in the company. And it's not because he hasn't answered those questions. It's because, just the nature of things, right? Like, so for example, and this is going super deep into a rabbit hole. I'm trying to get to a quick answer of your question. Um, Static, the creation of Static. Typically, when you see a comic book character created, they're created by the team who introduces them to the world, right? So, Static number one is written by Dwayne McDuffie, Robert Washington III, and with art by John Paul Leon, right? But Static, the character, was created by Dwayne McDuffie, Michael Davis, Dennis Cowan, and Derek Dingle, with perhaps some help by Christopher Priest, right? And so there's that, but then also Static or Milestone and all their characters were like written and fleshed out before anyone ever got an assignment to write or draw a book. So with all that said, Michael Davis is the co-founder who most contributed to Static and the supporting cast and the characters in the Static universe. Um, that's funny. Uh, but yeah, so Static or Michael Davis basically created Static, and he doesn't get his just due. And because of just how people, because Milestone had not told their own story, other people have like taken story and just run with it. And unfortunately, that's kind of pushed his name out of the history books when it comes to Milestone. So I was hoping that we would get like more definitive, like, hey, here's this guy did that, this guy did that, and that it would hopefully put some of those like rumors to bed. Um but unfortunately, that's not what this documentary did. Um again, Michael Davis is on record saying what he's done. It would have been nice for everyone else to kind of corroborate that once and for all. Even though it's out there, like that clip that they used of Michael Davis at the Comic-Con saying that Milestone owned all the characters and trademarks and stuff. I've shared that clip before, and the full clip actually has him talking about how Sharon, Static's sister, is named after his own sister, and Jean, Sharon's mother, is named, or yeah, Static and Sharon's mother is named after his own mother, and so on. So I was hoping that we would get that clip. When I saw that in the trailer, I thought that clip was going to be shown. It wasn't. So I feel like there was a missed opportunity to kind of really show um, all of the talent that helped make Milestone what it was. But again, to do that also, kind of indirectly serves to deflate the balloon that is Dwayne McDuffie's legacy, which is unfortunate because I think Dwayne McDuffie's legacy stands on its own, regardless of the Milestone story. And that's kind of evident through the other things that Dwayne McDuffie did over the years and in animation and all that. I think it's obvious that Dwayne McDuffie was a genius, and I think it's obvious that Milestone wouldn't be Milestone without Dwayne McDuffie. And I don't think that fact means you can't acknowledge and appreciate the contributions of others. So those are my thoughts on this on the Milestone documentary. And now I don't have to do a separate video because it's all right here. Maybe I'll cut this clip out. Hope that answered your question and doesn't make me sound too jerky. Let's see. She-Hulk's out. I love the first episode. Did you watch yet? I did not. I did not. Critic at Large agrees about the doc. Do you ever see that Dwayne McDuffie doc that premiered at DC Fandom a couple years back? Kind of want to rewatch that now. I did watch that one. Dwayne McDuffie is a fascinating individual. Like his story, if you haven't heard his story, it's crazy. Like, dude went to college at like 15 and was studying to be an astronaut, but just got too tall and decided, all right, well, I'll write instead. And like, it's wild how incredible Dwayne McDuffie's story is. That Kirkman Milestone episode mentioned Luke Cage was badly written. I was under the impression that it was well received. What are your thoughts? Have you read it? I have not read Luke Cage Power Man. I bought the omnibus. I'm pointing over there, but I actually put my copy over here. I bought the Luke Cage omnibus so that I could read it and get like some sort of context as to how it was received. I will say, just looking at some of the imagery from the Luke Cage omnibus, some of it just it just feels like caricature. And then the other thing is it's not so much like whether or not it was well received. Like, I think anytime you get a black character in mainstream media, you celebrate it, right? Like, we kind of latch on to them because black people, we're a minority and we don't get these looks often. So Luke Cage, dope. Black Panther, dope. Static, Miles Morales, whoever, dope, right? And there's always like a bit of fanfare around those characters. And then when you dive deeper into the portrayal, there's always some set or subset of criticism that can be attached because the portrayals, by and large, aren't always very flattering. And even when they are, they're not necessarily accurate, right? So, like, reading Luke Cage or reading Black Lightning now, some of it feels offensive to me, right? I don't know how it was received then because I wasn't alive. But reading that stuff now, it's like, ugh, it's the same way we all kind of collectively frowned at the what if Miles Morales was Thor. It kind of feels like that. Not quite to that extreme, but it kind of feels like that reading some of the black characters from that weird era where comics were taking from black exploitation movies. Um, but I mean, it is what it is. As far as my thoughts on that, I think it's history, right? What's the Disney warning lately? Like this movie is like a product of its time, or contains depictions that were, thought of as normal at the time, but we now know are insensitive. You know, it's no worse than like how any Arab person may have felt when they heard Robin Williams going in at the beginning of Aladdin. You know. Speaking of Milestone, Static's origin story was that he was out at the Big Bang because he was going to shoot a white bully named Biz Money B, which is a very familiar name. Did I make Static? You may have. You may have. I like the Robert Kirkman Secret History of Comics episode of Milestone better than Milestone Generations. It goes more deep into the history of Milestone. Yeah, I think those two kind of serve to tell a fuller story together, although there's quite a bit of overlap. Um, I think the what hampered this documentary is one, it was only an hour long, but two, because when Robert Kirkman did his episode, Milestone didn't exist anymore. So there's like an impetus to get like the full story, and people don't mind talking because they don't think Milestone's coming back, right? But you know, um, with the the new one, it's like Milestone's publishing again. So you got to be careful what you say, and also you don't want to dwell too much on the past. So if you made out of the 60-minute documentary, let's say you made 40 minutes dedicated to the old Milestone and how it all crumbled, so to speak, right? Then is the audience really going to stick around for the 20 minutes of new material? Are they going to think that the new stories are worth reading, or are they going to think that the old Milestone is where all the magic was and it died when they stopped publishing, and it especially died when Dwayne McDuffie died, right? So that's the kind of issue that you have with the storytelling in a documentary like that. um but all in all, I think it was just too short. These long answers today. Jeff Thorne's in the building, says it was the 1970s. You have to read it with that in mind. Right, right. Do you know if we're getting a Luke Cage run soon, spinning out a Devil's Reign event? I'm excited to see how he does as mayor of New York. Funny story. So, Ho Che Anderson, who wrote Wise Son, the White Wolf for Milestone, he had written and drawn, I don't know if he drew it, but he had written a whole Luke Cage story that was a tie-in to Devil's Reign. And I don't know what happened, but that book never came out. That book was so far in development that like in the three issues into Devil's Reign, we were still getting advertisements of that series in the Devil's Reign issues. So somewhere there is a full Luke Cage, I think it was called City of Fire. There's that full series out there somewhere. And hopefully Marvel releases it. Chances are they won't, because Devil's Reign's already over. Um, yeah, comics with your average Joe. Spoiler alert. Spoilers for Devil's Reign. But yeah, I would love to see a Luke Cage run spinning out of that. Somebody's got to deal with that. You can't just make Luke Cage the mayor of New York and like not do something with it. And they also had that big celebratory variant cover featuring Luke Cage as mayor. I feel like if they don't do something with that, people are gonna riot. Riot is such a is an overstatement, because there's not enough people for anyone to really care. But I think people would be upset. I heard they cut that book due to them making a run out of it, but who knows? I don't know. My understanding was that series would have been set before Luke Cage became the mayor. Recently, someone sent me a hardware trade of the first 8 issues for free when I purchased an omnibus from them. Man, I was hooked on hardware. Word. That was a great that's a great what do I call that? An extra that someone sent you. That's dope. Critic at large. Any random predictions about the DCEU and DC Comics in general with all this turmoil going on at Warner Media? Do you think we're still getting that Milestone animated movie? I have no sort of insider information. What I will say is um I feel like that movie was further in development than anyone. I don't know. I know that there were writers attached. I know that there are consultants attached. I don't know if a script was written. I don't know if anything has been animated. But we got the announcement like a year ago at this point. So I feel like it's got to be coming. And I feel like Warner DC knows how big a deal Static is. And also that, I don't, how do I say this? I feel like there'd be more fanfare for this Milestone animated movie than there was for the Jon Stewart movie they just did, which apparently didn't really focus much on Jon Stewart. I don't know. I'm waiting for it to hit streaming. Um, since I pay all these subscription fees, I might as well wait for the subscription to be worth it as opposed to buying animated movies. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's untapped potential in that movie, but I don't know. It could also be seen as like a very niche product for a niche audience. And Warner Brothers Discovery has made it very clear they're trying to make the dollars. So, hey. Gabriel says, "Hey, BJ, got a Comic Con for you to check out. Tazewell Comic Con in Tazewell, Virginia. It'll be in October, and I will be a vendor. Where is Tazewell, Virginia? I'm going to be honest with you, Gabriel. It does not sound like a place I would want to frequent. Let me check it out. Located in the heart of scenic Appalachia, in the majestic Appalachian Mountain regions of Southwest Virginia. Huh. That's an interesting little place. The downtown looks like the downtown area where I grew up. I grew up in a town called Wake Forest in North Carolina. And our downtown is like like 3 city blocks, if that. Um, and yeah, that's what this reminds me of. What's hilarious is that there's a Google question that says, "What is Tazewell, Virginia close to?" And the answers are Bluefield, Virginia, Bluefield, West Virginia, and Pulaski, Virginia, which doesn't help me because I don't know where any of those places are either. So that's interesting. Yeah, because Into the Spider-Verse was so niche. Look, I'm not saying I agree with people that would see Static as a niche product. I'm just saying I could see if DC felt that way. I don't know, man. People just don't seem to have brains. That's the best way I can say that. Ezra Miller has posted a public apology for all they've done and are now seeking mental health help. Or they released a statement saying that. I don't, who knows what to believe in these events. Young Justice looks like it's getting on the chopping block. Got a vibe that DC Animation is going to get a big shakeup. I don't know anything about animation. Jeff Thorne knows plenty about animation, but I hear that animation is expensive. So I could see animation getting a chopping block, but I don't know. I feel like there are just so many avenues for animation, right? Like if you can sell to kids, you can sell to like everyone because I know I'm always looking for something that like my kids can watch and I don't have to like worry about, right? With some of these like Disney shows or whatever shows, like I'm always like, okay, what's really going on? I have to look at the TV a little bit harder. Um, but for they're watching Spider-Man, the animated series, I'm like, okay, great. Have at it. Sit there for 2 hours and watch Spider-Man. Let's see. Static is also being requested by fans for the Multiverses game. Yeah, I mean, they have the rights. I don't know. Why not put Static in there? People, somebody has to know how big a deal Static and the Static Shock show were. Like, they have to know. It's documented. And they were the ones that documented it. So I don't know. I don't know. What's up, Ryan? Hope you're having a good day. I'm having a great day. It's great. I can't complain. Do you think after the Dark Crisis event that we're getting another reboot? I don't know. It every time they say the word crisis, it seems to be that's what's happening. I've never this would be technically my first crisis. So I assume there is some sort of a shakeup coming though. Yes. Seems like the animation side of Warner Brothers isn't getting as much attention, which is a shame because DC animation is what got me into DC Comics. Same here. Same here. When I started buying comics, I started buying the books that corresponded with different animated DC shows and movies that I had seen. Like the Young Justice cartoon was great because then I could go and look and say, oh, I've seen that girl on this show. I'll grab this book. Um, but yeah, Justice League Unlimited, all of them. And that whole run of movies that started with the Flashpoint movie, and then they had the Justice League Origin, and all of these different movies set in this quote unquote New 52 universe that ended with what was that one called? Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. I was glued to every single one of those movies. I can't lie. Since then, I've not been as glued to the DC animated universe. Um, I need to go watch season 4 of Young Justice. And then the what was it? I've seen they did Gotham by Gaslight. I watched that. They did Superman Red Sun. I watched that. I still haven't finished the Injustice movie. Um, and then the what was the other movie? They did a Wonder Woman movie that I didn't see. I think it's called Bloodline. And then the Superman Man of Tomorrow. Once they changed the animation style, like I think it was noticeably different with Superman Man of Tomorrow, I kind of checked out. But yeah. I don't know how big the DC Comics shakeup could be when they committed to Ram V on Detective and Chip on Batman for so long. Those runs aren't interrupted at all. Thank goodness. Events. Yeah, I also don't know what the deal is with all of these yeah, the events, like they don't seem to change anything, right? Like I would have thought, and maybe I'm just naive, right? I'm new to all this. But I would have thought that like every book would have been like a Dark Crisis tie-in. So okay, I gotta read Dark Crisis. But so far, just as a publish the way publishing is going, it feels like I don't really have to read Dark Crisis. They're gonna tell me what happens in it eventually. But Batman just started a new run. And in Action Comics, Superman is still on War World, and John Kent is still doing his thing. Like nothing seems to be affected, but obviously something's going to be affected at some point, I would assume. I love Young Justice so much. Rewatched the series when my son was born. A lot of great memories of rocking him to sleep while watching that show. I watched Young Justice a lot in, that would have had to be like 2017, 2018. I loved watching it. This was whenever season 3 came out, I watched seasons 1, 2, and 3 like all back to back. And it was great. I was fully glued. As a matter of fact, I don't think season 3 was out yet. It was just season 1 and 2. When DC Universe came out with their app and DC Universe actually had like movies and stuff, and DC Universe was the only place you could watch Static Shock. Eventually, they folded, and the DC Universe app was just comics. But back in these days, right, you could read comics on your Roku TV. That was super dope. They took that functionality away when they relaunched DC Universe Infinite. That's what they're calling it now, and made HBO Max. But man, those early DC Universe days were really, really cool. I feel like that was like the best comics app by far. Let's see. Carson said he's right. Just finished Batman Long Halloween and The House of Mystery. Enjoyed them. Word. I'm not current at all on Dark Crisis or Status Quo, but I really want more John Stewart quest leader stories. Here we're not getting any new John Stewart stories now. That's not true. That's not true. There is at least one new John Stewart story coming out, and it's called Green Lantern: The Emerald Knight. It's basically a continuation from Jeff Thorne's run, and it's a one shot, I believe. I think Jeff's still in the chat. He could let us know. I'm pulling it up now. Also, Green Lantern: The Emerald Knight. Oh, John Stewart: The Emerald Knight. That's better because Green Lantern: The Emerald Knight was not good for the SEO. All right, let me share my screen here. All right. So Jeff says it's a one shot for now. So you're telling me there's a chance. The November one shot special follows up on the cliffhanger of number 12 and squares it up with Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. So eventually, all this stuff is going to collide in the main DC universe. DC doesn't say it outright. The Promised Return happens in November. 48-page one shot. Jeff Thorne and Marco Santucci. No disrespect to Tom Rainey, but Marco had my favorite art in Jeff Thorne's Green Lantern run, so that's exciting to me. According to publisher, John will have to become something greater to save his fellow Lanterns and escape the dark sector where the Green Lanterns have been trapped for months as he faces Isak, the mad new god, in the special. Seems to take place after Green Lantern 12, but before Justice League 75 and the subsequent Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths event. Yo, just spoil the whole Dark Crisis, why don't you? All right, I'm gonna stop reading this. Bunkmaster B says, nice. I'll have to check that out in 6 months when it hits DC Infinite. Word. Well, generally, events have had effects take place after the event series have ended, if they don't have any tie-ins, as to avoid spoilers of said event due to delays, etc. That makes sense. That makes sense. I saw Jim Lee might go back to Marvel. That is going to be interesting. Where did you see that? I mean, that's interesting if that's true, but where did that even come from? JL75 is why I figured nothing new was happening. Same. I did too. But then we got these announcements. Will the one shot be in the GL trade? I doubt it because the one shot's not coming out to November. And as far as I know, both trades are out already for Jeff's Green Lantern. Let's look it up. Because volume 1 was Invictus and volume 2 was like Horatius. As a matter of fact, this will be a great time to ask what Horatius means. I could have looked it up, but Jeff's in the chat. Yeah, so it's not going to be in these two trades because these two trades are already out. Volume 2 came out July 5th, and Volume 1 came out earlier than that, December 2021. So we're 30 minutes into the stream. Do we get some future talk now? Let's see. Marvel or Liefeld speculated that Jim Lee returned to Marvel idea on his podcast, not official. Got you. My bad, man. The future talk. So this is kind of a continuation of last week's future talk and just in general how I'm feeling about the channel right now. So you guys know last month I was pretty much out of commission because our AC broke. And, when you break your upload streak on YouTube or your whatever content consistency you have, right? If you're doing 3 videos a week, 4 videos a week, or whatever, that makes sense because Invictus is a poem. Horatius comes from a poem, Horatius at the Bridge by Thomas Babington Macaulay. Now I've got to look it up. I'll do it in a second. But yeah, so when you break your upload streak, YouTube kind of punishes you and like doesn't show your videos to anyone. And so like when you upload again, you get less views, blah, 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 blah. Right. So last week I was telling you guys, I feel like this is an opportunity for me to break out of this streak that I had been in where my channel was just me opening a bunch of comic books and never getting a chance to read them. And so what I think is I'm going to be publishing less. So I'm thinking I'm going to drop down to like 3 videos a week, maybe 3 videos a week. And I think that will include the Hangout. And what I want to do is I want to put more of a focus on the Hangout. Like I want this to be like the centerpiece of the channel. Right now, if I had to like say, okay, what's the centerpiece of the channel? It's the weekly What I'm Getting series where I tell you what's on my pull list and why it's still on my pull list. And I kind of review the issue before and so on. What I want the Hangout to become is, the main hub of content on the channel. And I think what I can do is I can sort of have segments and we can break those segments down into smaller videos. And so, YouTube gets their 5 videos a week or whatever. But it comes off the back of this live content. And the reason why I want to do this is because every day that I put out a video, that's a day that I've done at least like 2 hours of work on this channel between filming, researching, editing, or even just like setting up my room to look good on video, right? And so that's time that I'm not spending with my family or whatever, but it's also time I'm not spending reading all these books that are stacking up in my house. So I want to, you know, get rid of the to read pile. I want to actually read all these books. I'm not buying them for no reason. So scaling back the amount of content on the channel means I get to read more books. And then the Hangout becomes the weekly live review show where I can say, oh, you know what? I read all 6 issues of Naomi season 2 today, and it was really good. I didn't read all 6 issues of season Naomi, but if I had more time, I could, right? So that's where the future of the channel in general is going. And so the future of the Hangout kind of rests on that, where probably not until September, but like starting in September, we're going to see like a heavier focus on me reviewing these books and like just enjoying the hobby. I've been treating this channel, and I told you guys this last week, I've been treating this channel kind of like a second job, which is cool if you're like making second job money. But if you're not, like either you're going to enjoy what you're doing or it's going to drive you crazy. And I'm trying to get back to the enjoying what I'm doing because at the end of the day, this is a hobby and this is, supposed to be fun. And I enjoy making videos as much as I enjoy reading comics, but I got to slow down so I can do more of the latter. But anyway, for example, let's see. Oh, Skip's got a comment here. Yes, whatever it takes to read. I stopped posting vids because I got tired of hearing myself and other readers complaining about how big their reading stacks are getting and not doing much about it. Yeah, man, YouTube is one of those. YouTube is a trap, right? Like if you find success doing something, you will just do it over and over and over until it doesn't work anymore. And that's where I was. And I just got lucky that I was forced to stop and say, okay, well, there's 2 things going on. There's like this urge to get back on the horse. And it's okay, well, what's that feeling? And why is that there? That's kind of weird, right? But then there's also just kind of coming to terms with, okay, well, these are all the reasons I can't do this at the level I had been doing it. So I got to either be cool with what comes with that, or not, right? And so, again, for me, I have it's really more of a refocus, right? The channel's not going anywhere, but the goals of the channel are different, right? I'm not trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by December anymore, which was that was a real goal I had for this channel. I'm not trying to get to a certain dollar amount in ad revenue by January anymore. So I'm going to put that effort somewhere else, um, so that I can keep money coming in to support the hobby. Because I don't know if I told you all this, but I fund this hobby completely through side hustles. So the more money I make outside of my day job, the more I get to have fun with comics. But expecting comics to pay me for comics is kind of crazy. It's comical. But anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna scale back the videos on this channel, add more videos to my main other channel that like actually brings me clients and brings me revenue and stuff, and I'll spend the spoils on comics. So that's the future of the channel, Bunk Master B. I mean to bury the lead there. A critic at large says, I just finished reading the first arc of Ridley's Black Panther. It kind of fizzled out for me. Hopefully, German Peralta's art injects some life into the run. I just finished that as well. So, that gets us back to the agenda, right? We talked about the quote unquote future of the channel, and then we could transition into some comic reviews because I've been reading comics this week. Go figure. So with John Ridley's run, I read it. I just finished issue 8, like right before the stream. And I alluded to this before, but like in issue 7, I'm in a bunch of different like black comic nerd fan groups or whatever. And everyone seems to be very upset about the treatment of T'Challa. Spoilers for John Ridley's Black Panther run so far. Basically, and I haven't read Coates's run, but this run really starts out kind of examining T'Challa's relationship with Wakanda. Like, is T'Challa the abusive spouse, and why does Wakanda continue to take it, if so? Right. And so this is a sort of reckoning for T'Challa, and it ends with, again, spoilers for Black Panther number 7 and 8. After this, basically it ends with T'Challa saying, you know what? I don't deserve the throne of Wakanda, right? And so I won't spoil all the details of Wakanda's government and what's coming of that. But T'Challa's attitude is like, you know what? Wakanda doesn't want me, and rightfully so. I will go and wallow in self-pity, and it is what it is, right? But people are just very, very upset about T'Challa like not being like the, I don't know, hyper alpha male king of Wakanda. Like, don't dare step against me. If you stepping against me, you stepping against Wakanda. Blah 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 blah. Right? Like, that's, people want that T'Challa, and that coincides with T'Challa or Chadwick Boseman passing, and the MCU deciding not to recast the role, or at least not recast it for Wakanda Forever. So people are very upset about the Black Panther. I, being a new Black Panther reader, I've been enjoying it. I mean, I would like to see Black Panther like being, you know, badass, for lack of a better term. But I just like well executed stories, and it's been a well executed story so far, right? Like, if T'Challa is like in space every chance he gets, and if T'Challa is like plotting against Wakanda and putting Wakanda in precarious situations, would there not be a faction of Wakandans that's like, you know what? We tried this your way. We're going to try it a different way now. And how would T'Challa, as the, regal monarch he is, how does he respond to that? Sure, it hurts him, but he's not just gonna like go ape, right? So I've been enjoying it, but I can see why people who have been reading Black Panther much longer than I have may have a gripe with it. And to them, I say, We're getting a whole lot of Black Panther omnis later this year. Between all the Don McGregor stuff, it's about to be collected in hardcover. Priest's run is getting collected in hardcover later this year. The beginning of Coates' run is getting collected in hardcover this year. And I have to assume that Hudlin's run is getting an omnibus sometime next year because it's the only piece that will be missing besides like a few different like miniseries and stuff. Buy those and read them and then read this and just like, take it as an evolution of your favorite character. If T'Challa is your favorite character, it's how I feel about it, but I'm no one's authority. Just buy what you like is what I say. But yeah, so that's how the first arc played out. I think people are also upset because they thought Tosin was going to be more than what Tosin is. And I think that's all like movie hype. But yeah. I'm from Dade says he had 25 titles in his pull list 10 years ago and realized he wasn't even enjoying most of the books. He was just attached to the characters. FOMO is real. That's true. I have bought plenty of books just because they were like, a character that I was interested in or just was my favorite or whatever. Like the whole tail end of Tom King's Batman run. You can watch my overview of Volume 6. I did that today, and I told all of my story about how much I did not enjoy that, but I was still buying it every week because it was Batman. Brian Brewster says, I started a channel myself just for fun. She and His Dead Comics would love to have you on for a few and share our enthusiasm about comics. Sure. Email me. Email me at bj@comicsaredope.com. Of course, I don't have it like written up here. I should probably put that like in my bio or whatever description. For inquiries, you sound important when you say for inquiries. Yeah, email me, dude, and we'll hopefully set something up. I plan to have more free time on my hands starting in September. So there's that. Let's see. Comments with the Average Joe's been loving the run on Black Panther. What's up, Kyle? Good to see you, man. Right. They hit T'Challa with the I'm the captain now. Let's see. Out RL stuff. Keep doing the Lord's work, Mr. Kicks. Thanks, man. Thank you. Let's see. Coach Run had those same story beats when it started. Doesn't feel new on top of feeling like just dragging T'Challa. Man, the king down bad right now. The one thing that I've not enjoyed about this Black Panther run was it very much felt like Storm and T'Challa were going to get back together. And then they just were like, let's pull that rug out. That's the one thing I was like, yo, for real? Like, come on, like just do it. Just do it. But no, they won't. You've heard WB Discovery swinging the axe of Zavalov, cutting things out from movies and TV shows that aren't financially viable. But do you think DC Comics is next? No, I do not think DC Comics is next. I mean, look, there's got to be something to adapt into all these billion-dollar projects that Zavalov is looking for. So, yeah. I started to read back in 2012, couldn't afford it anymore in 2015, but after following my favorite characters for years, it was hard to walk away. Felt like a breakup. I get that. Yo, Wheelchair Superheroes back. I haven't seen you in a little bit, man. What's up, dude? What's up, comic fams? What's up? Welcome back. But yeah, so with me like not stepping back from the channel, but just like refocusing the channel, I've also just been I'm trying to do more things that I love doing just because I love doing them, right? So I told you guys last week I got back into sneakers, not buying them, but basically there's all these like, counterfeiters in China that are, making counterfeit sneakers, and they will send them to people who review them online. And so I've been in conversations with a lot of those people. And so like I got these were supposed to be the first pair that I reviewed on the channel, but those other shoes came in first and they come with a deadline. So I couldn't just hold on to them. But these are actual Um, these are a replica of Miles Morales Jordans that came out with the release of the Miles Morales movie. I'm still supposed to do a episode on these shoes. I was gonna start a series called Comics and Kicks, where I just like show off a pair of shoes that remind me of a comic story of some sort, and this was supposed to be episode 1. I don't know if I'm going to do that series because I don't know that I want sneakers on this channel full time, but I did start a separate channel specifically for the sneaker reviews, so we'll see. But yeah, I've been buying these UA sneaker, or not buying. I've been selling my time in exchange for pairs of these UA sneakers. Um, this is not a very good fake of this shoe, by the way. There are things that you could call out about these. But yeah, exactly. You could tell these are fake because the sole is too clear. It's supposed to be icy blue. Yeah, exactly. I did a whole review of this shoe on my channel. It's called Kicks on Kicks. I have seen better fakes of this shoe. And so my plan is to get a better fake of this shoe. My plan is not to spend $1,000 on the real one, unless I just come up on $1,000 somewhere. Like, but look how much this. I mean, there is a light shining on this. That's why it's glowing like this. But look how white it glows. It's like there's no blue in it. But anyway, Kyle says I've been dabbling in UA. It's crazy how the interest align. Yeah, man. Look. I got a wife. I got 2 kids, and my 2 kids are daughters. You know how expensive daughters are? You know, like how many clothes daughters put on every day? It's insane. So I can't be out here paying resale for sneakers. I don't even run around paying retail for sneakers, right? Jordans are like $200 and they come out every Saturday. I can't do it. I can't do it. So, yeah, so I've been procuring these. Now, the one thing about these, or about these fakes in general, is back in the day, I used to resell fakes when I was in high school. I didn't even know they were fakes at the time. I was naive. But with these, like, they're selling these for the same price as the retail shoe now. And that's crazy to me. I get the convenience of, like, you know, okay, you could get this without waiting in line. But for this being 100, I think they're selling this one for like 180. Paying 180 for this is insane to me. Back when I was getting them, they were like $40, $50. And it's like, okay, cool. It was a fake shoe. Who cares if it's $40? Like, you know, beat it up, wear it everywhere, whatever. But if I wasn't getting these for free, I wouldn't be getting these either. But it is something that's fun to look at, and they're surprisingly comfortable, even though these are super fake. The dots on these are the worst, and the sole is too clear. But we can stop talking about this pair of shoes now. That's just another thing that I decided to do because I've been trying to get back into things that I enjoy. And my name is BJ Kicks for a reason. Let's see. DJ Deflex1 says, don't support fakes. You could do it, but that means no comics. I could do it, but I could only do it once a month, right? And that's the other part, right? When I enjoy something, I kind of go hard with it, which is how I ended up with the friggin' comic collection I have. I enjoy being able to spend, $50 a week on comics, but if I had to spend $200 a month on just one pair of shoes, it just, it's not the same. Because I'm always going to be looking at, okay, what's that shoe I missed out on? And then I could budget $200 a month and then still miss out on the shoe because, sneakers app. So yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. A lot of reps are the same as retail costs. Easy is more. That is insane to me. I get, like, I'm supposed to be, like, promoting these, so to speak, but there's no way. There's no way I'm paying the retail price for these. And I don't get why people do. But there's other ways to pay for reps or to buy reps. And Yeah, you could get like an agent and get on Sugar Goo or whatever and get like super low prices. But then you're getting like the shoes look like they came from the flea market. But whatever. It's all the same. What's your advice on dropping your pull list? There's a new comic shop much closer to my home. I'm thinking of switching my pull list to their store, but don't want to have bad blood. Um, Look, just be straight up. Just be straight up. Like if you can't buy something, then don't tell them you're gonna buy it. Right. Like I've got a pull list and I try to be real. Like once once an issue of a book comes out, it's freshest on my mind, and it's probably time for the shop to reorder next month's issue. It's like the best time to tell your comic shop you're gonna drop something is like the day the book comes out. Sometimes a little bit earlier, depending on when FOC is. But the worst thing you can do is wait for a book to come out, go to the shop and be like, hey, I'm cutting my pull list starting today. And they just got a stack of books sitting behind the counter with your name on them that they can't sell to anyone else unless they're like the hot books. So yeah, when I need to drop a title, I try to do it like ASAP. I use League of Comic Geeks, and League of Comic Geeks allows you to print out your pull list. And so I did that. I did that back in December and printed out my pull list and I highlighted all the titles I needed to drop and I dropped it off at my shop and just, let them, do their business. I also spend enough money at my shop to where if I need to drop a book or two out of the box every week, they're like, oh, it's all good. We'll just take that back. Um, but yeah, just communicate. That's the big thing. Deflex One says, what kind of LED lights do you have to create that blue glow behind the TV? So this is a little bit of camera tricks. I'll show you how the sausage is made. So this is a LED light with a blue little filter, but then I also have an LED strip behind the TV. So my whole room is blue because of the extra lights that I put in. But yeah, and I don't remember what kind. It's not Philips Hue. It's just whatever Amazon brand LED strips that I bought with a gift card or something. Brian, you just emailed me. Appreciate that, man. But yeah, so that's it. All right. What are we getting? What are we doing? We're talking about books that I read. So just in the spirit of reviewing comics and reading what you buy, I decided to read DC's Dead Planet. Now you'll notice this one's still in the plastic. That's because I read it on Comixology. Shout out to Comixology. But DC's Dead Planet I read 2-3 nights ago because I thought I had read it, and then it was very clear to me that I had not finished this book. But if you've read Deceased, then you know about the virus and what made all these basically zombies in the DC universe. In Dead Planet, there is Cyclops. Cyborg brings word of there possibly being a cure. And so Dead Planet is about them trying to find that cure and also trying to apply it. So that's that part. This was really good. I really enjoyed this. If you're a fan of the Justice League Dark, you'll be a fan of this book. This definitely picks up a lot of Justice League Dark vibes, and Constantine plays a big role on this. So the magical, supernatural stuff, a lot of that's in here. And I read this so that I could prepare for Deceased War of the Undead Gods, which issue number 1 of that came out last week before. And I read War of the Undead Gods number 1. Just as exciting, just as fast paced as you would expect a Deceased book to be. But a lot of that issue 1 served as like an epilogue to this book. But it's shaping up that like if you're a fan of the main Justice League, Deceased is for you. In the continuation, Dead Planet, you're getting like a lot of like Justice League Dark vibes. And then it appears that in War of the Undead Gods, this is where they're going to get into like the new gods stuff. Apocalypse, Neogenesis, That's or New Genesis, whichever. You're getting those vibes in volume 3. So between all of these deceased volumes, you're getting Tom Taylor putting his spin on the whole of the DC universe. And it's very interesting, very compelling stuff. I won't spoil any part of Deceased War of the Undead Gods #1, but they do some stuff with Supergirl that is very interesting to me. And it's an 8-issue series, and I'm definitely on board for it. Never understood why people collect shoes. My buddy does and has a walk-in closet with a crap ton of shoes that he doesn't wear. I don't know. I can't speak for anyone else. For me, there is no better feeling than a brand new pair of sneakers on your feet, right? Like the smell of new shoes is great. The stories that go into like the marketing of certain sneakers, it's all about that, right? And they do a really good job. Like this is like the very rare instance where shoes and comics like do a collab that really means a lot to me. Because it's like my favorite Jordan model. But I don't I can't explain it. It trying to explain why people collect shoes is like trying to explain why people collect anything. Like if you're not talking to a comic book fan when you are talking about comics, you sound crazy. Like, oh yeah, Batman's the best, and I got these $100 Batman books that fill and line my walls, right? Like, yo, like it just sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. So I don't know if there's a way to justify it or make it like make sense to someone who's not a fan. But it's a lot of things. It's nostalgia, like Deflex One says. It's nostalgia. It's um there's almost like a bit of I don't know, man. It's just having the right shoe just feels right. Like having the Jordan 1 Chicago. This isn't the Jordan 1 Chicago, it's based on it, but it's not, right? Having this and knowing that like this is like one of the models that Michael Jordan wore on court, right? It's just dope. And then the fact that they're limited, because since they're limited, there's always an air of, oh snap, he's got those. I couldn't get those. Where'd you get those from? It's like collecting anything, right? There's scarcity principle, the nostalgia, the one-upsmanship, all of it. That's all the reasons you collect shoes. And then also just for the love. I love like with all the shoes that I have that aren't fake, right? Like these not included, right? There's a story behind how I got them. I waited in like 4 lines to get my infrared 4 or infrared 6s. My wife bought me the UNC 3s. There's a lot of I have stories behind all my favorite shoes, and so I just love them. And there was a time where I wish I could have these shoes, and then there's a time where I have the shoes, and like the story of how I attained them is special. So yeah. Do you have any recommendations on places to start with for other characters? Oh, after doing some research, best most recent place to jump into Batman and Superman. Done ordered Action Comics 29, Superman 29, and Detective 62 from my local shop. Any recommendations on places to start with for other characters? Other characters. If you're trying to get into X-Men, I would recommend reading House of X and Powers of 10. You can probably find it digitally before you find it any other way. If you're trying to get into Captain America, I think that Ed Brubaker's run is probably the best place to start. It's a great run. Oh, you said recent runs, recent jumping in points. Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America just ended. I don't think they've announced a new series. Jeff Thorne's Green Lantern just ended. I don't think they've announced a new series for that. For all the X-Men stuff, the X-Men Avengers Eternals Judgment Day event spoils a lot of stuff that you would read about in House of X and Powers of 10, but it's a decent jumping in point. Like it explains what's going on with mutants now and why they're in the current conflict they're in. So that could work. BJ, did you get the Book of Doom? I did not get the Book of Doom. I don't personally collect shoes, but I understand the appeal. It's really no different than collecting cars or bikes. It's a mode of transportation. You want to look cool going where you go. True. True. Shoes are a mode of transportation. I dig that. There's two Captain America books out, one with Steve, another one with Sam. I thought those were the same series. Are they not? Huh. The more you know. I'm a croc wearing kind of guy. Word. Are you a gamer? No. Um, I don't have the time it takes to become good at playing games. I just I had to come to terms with it, right? So I'm interested in some games. Like I want to buy the Spider-Man game just came out for PC, but to the point where like I'm going to spend a bunch of money on a console and all of that, nah. I appreciate games though; they're nostalgic too. I used to play video games all the time as a kid, but yeah, no, the hours it takes to be a gamer, combined with the hours it takes to be a parent, combined with the hours it takes to be a YouTuber, there's just not enough time in the day. Ever get into statues and figures? No. I have been priced out of statues. I do have some action figures. I mostly, I say collect is a very loose term, but I mostly pick up McFarlane Toys figures because the price point is about $20, and you don't feel guilty spending $20. Born Hitman says, I think most collectors collect more than one type of thing, just the experience, the dopamine rush, and fun of having a bunch of different stuff you're interested in. Yeah, for me, a lot of it is just in like the thrill of the chase, so to speak, right? Like, there's something about wanting something and then having something that's just really cool. Um, and then the sense of achievement after you've gotten it. You watch football? If so, what's your team? Technically, my team is the Carolina Panthers since I haven't renounced my Panthers fandom. I was a Giants fan for years, and I renounced my Giants fandom the year that the Panthers made their Super Bowl run. And I specifically said, for as long as Cam Newton is quarterback, I will be a Carolina Panthers fan. Well, Cam Newton is no longer the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, but I haven't renounced my fandom. So I'm technically still a Panthers fan, but I really don't have a football team at the moment. Personally, fine just buying generic black non-slip sneakers. Like I'm more functional with form when it comes to stuff like clothes, furniture, shoes. Yo, I'm that way with clothes. Like I will run to, Target or JC Penney and just buy like 85 blank tees and like the most basic jeans ever. As long as they got like a nice taper to the jeans, I could care less about my outfits, but the sneakers are important to me. You an NBA fan? Who's your team? I'm a LeBron fan. So right now I'm a Lakers fan, technically, which still feels weird to say as someone who rooted for LeBron all those years and never wanted Kobe to win anything, right? It's weird to say I'm a Lakers fan right now. But my team is the Knicks. Whenever LeBron stops playing, then you'll see all the Knicks gear. My family is all from New York, and they're big Knicks and Mets fans. And me growing up in North Carolina, like I was never like the biggest sports fan because it's not like we have a bunch of sports teams to root for anyway. But I root for the Mets now because my grandfather was such a big Mets fan. It just reminds me of him, so it's fun. D-Flex One's got all the questions tonight. You ever get into manga or anime? I watched Dragon Ball Z. I'm going to see the Dragon Ball superhero movie tomorrow with a few guys from church. So, but that's the extent of my anime. I tried watching My Hero Academia. A lot of the anime tropes I'm just not really into because I'm a family man, right? So a lot of anime is like scantily or skimpily clad women and like just um blah blah blah. And I mean Dragon Ball is not really exempt, but it's kind of minimized there. And I know there's a bunch of different like categories of anime. I've basically just resolved that anime is a whole separate world, but I don't have the time to explore. So eventually I'll finish Samurai Champloo though. If you weren't into comics, what other hobby would have taken its place? Like, would you be into movies, TV shows, etc.? I used to watch a lot of animation, and typically it was superhero animation. So comics kind of fit right in. Sneakers are another big hobby. If I didn't have a comic book YouTube channel, I'd probably have like a sneaker channel, because the one thing about sneakers is like you can make it profitable if you really want to. But it's a high cost to do of entry, basically. Um, I used to make beats. If I had more time, I'd probably make beats and do like a music channel. Um, my other channel is about music marketing, and I do videos, supposed to be twice a week, on that channel about how to sell more music to directly to your fans without the help of a record label. Um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, all my hobbies I pretty much participate in to the fullest extent that I can. So comics, music, or business in general. I really enjoy marketing and like making numbers go up. That's fun for me. Um, and sneakers. What comic book creator would you love to interview on your channel? I love to interview Priest, Jim Lee, Tom Taylor. Trying to remember like who else. I want to have more artists on the channel, right? Like Jorge Jimenez has drawn some of the best Batman like ever. Jorge Fornes, who is like David Mazzucchelli's second coming. Um, but yeah, I particularly want to interview like more so-called legends, right? Where like we're losing a lot of comic book creators. So I would want to interview like some elder statesmen with comics or in comics, and just get some more stories on the record. Like talking to creators is some of the most fascinating stuff, because it's like you know what a creation meant to you, and you think that like people have all this foresight, like, oh yeah, we wanted to do this and that, and you'll find the inspiration for like some of your favorite stuff was just super happenstance. And I love uncovering those stories. um I like history. I like interviewing people. I used to have a podcast where I interview people a lot, so I want to do that more on this show as well. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. So yeah, a lot of people. Todd McFarlane would be cool. Um, Brian Michael Bendis would be cool. Um, and I do have a goal to like interview everyone who's ever been associated with Milestone, either like live on YouTube or just for my blog. But yeah, so that's that part. Superman and Batman are always relatable to me. Being diagnosed with autism as a kid, I always felt alien compared to everyone else. And Batman had a lot of trauma and relationship issues, and that was also relatable. That makes sense. That makes sense. Hey, have you read any Punisher lately? What's up, Sugar Man? I'm really enjoying Aaron's run. I was enjoying um I was enjoying Jason Aaron's Punisher. I stopped reading it because I didn't feel like I needed to read it week or month to month. I felt like it'd be fine like to read it in trade. But no, it's really good. I read the first 3 issues. Haven't read past that. I'm waiting for the rest of it to hit Marvel Unlimited in 3 months. Donny Cates is my favorite current writer. He's been having some problems right now with the writer's block and other stuff. Word. Hey there, BJ. What have you thought of the new run of Chip's Daredevil? Um, so I read issue 1, and it felt very much like it was a continuation of something. And so I started to go back to read Devil's Reign, and I haven't finished that. And then I started reading issue 2, because issue 2 came out last week. This week, Daredevil issue 2 came out. And I'm on page 8 of 51. All in all, I mean, it's exciting street level stuff. I like a good street level story, but I feel like reading Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil and reading Chip Zdarsky's Batman at the same time probably isn't the best idea, but I enjoy it. I've enjoying it so far. But my overwhelming feeling reading this new Chip Zdarsky run is that I need the context. I need what came before. So I kind of wanted to stop all this and just start Chip Zdarsky's run all over, like starting from the 2018 stuff and go all the way up to now. Is how I feel about Chip's Daredevil. But I love the art. Like Marco Cicchetto has got to be like top 3 best artist in comics right now. And I think he's only not getting love because he's drawing Daredevil and nobody's like reading it. Maybe people are reading it, but I don't hear his name come up in like these top artist discussions. But look at this. He's killing it. He's killing it. So yeah. Look at this cover. So that's how I feel about Chip's Daredevil. I want to read more. And so I got to read it from the beginning. Tim Sheeran finally read Duo number 4. I felt accomplished this week. Word. Now that Tim Sheeran's talked about Duo or read Duo, I can talk about what I thought about it because I hadn't read issue 3 until last night when I read issue 4. Duo is a Milestone series with a semi-new character, right? It's a new take on Zombie, but it's basically there's this scientist, a team of scientists who are a husband and wife, or they may not have been married. They might have just been fiance. I think they were married. But anyway, husband or there's this couple who are scientists who are developing nanotechnology that can like basically heal any human and basically give them immortality. There's a accident in the lab that seemingly kills one, but in the process, like bonds the nanites to the other and also uploads the consciousness in the other. And so these two people are sharing the same mind and sharing a body. And it's interesting because they're not sharing a mind, really. They're sharing a body. There's two separate minds in this body, and they like fight for control sometimes. And they're in a relationship. So like they fight with each other. It's interesting. Like I love the concept because it's like, what if your spouse could feel everything that you feel? What if your spouse like knew all your thoughts before you had to say them because they were in your mind? And like, what if your spouse like didn't agree with you? Like, and it's a really interesting take on like the importance of unity in a romantic relationship. And so anyway, all this scientific advancement that they've been working on makes them the target of a couple of different groups. And there's conflict between the two of them on which group they should side with and so much other stuff. I just love like the idea of two people in one mind and how they decide to work together because they have to. So really loving Duo. I think it's a sleeper hit. Like honestly, it's one of the better concepts and one of the better books I've read this year. It's probably top 5, especially if we're just talking limited series. So yeah. Are we still live? I asked 3 questions, must have gotten overlooked. What other questions did you ask? I saw the question about DC. I kind of just moved with the chat. Yeah, I heard you ask I saw you ask if DC Comics was next on the chopping block. I don't see another question. Just ask your question. Let me know. What's something you want to see more of in comics, like single issue stories, particular genres, particular art styles? I want to see more self-contained stuff. Like I want Batman to be over here doing Batman stuff, and I want Green Lantern to be over here doing Green Lantern stuff. I want to see less events. And I want to see like shorter stories. Like Superman's been on Warworld for a year and some change. Like give me like 4-issue story arcs and stuff. Like that's what I really want, but hey. particular art styles. I'm not picky. I find that like the art I prefer is like evocative like of like 90s image style stuff. But there's also a bunch of art that I love that's like not that at all. Like Jorge Fornes, like I said, it's like David Mazzucchelli all over again. And I love that. I love that classic vintage feel. Um, so I'm not super picky on art as long as it's good art. And yeah. So yeah. And art is subjective. So who am I to say what's good and what's not? I just like seeing things executed well. Duo really cuts deep. I agree. Chip having a good argument to becoming the next Frank Miller while writing Batman and Daredevil. Or JC, do you still do omnibus unboxing? And you already answered about the sneaker situation. So yeah, we were talking earlier. One of the things that I'm doing less of on the channel are unboxings because I'm doing less buying. And I'm trying to do more reading. So yeah, there will still be omnibus unboxings. But they're not going to be as big a focus on the channel as they've been in the past. So yeah, I still do omnibus unboxings. I've got a box coming next week sometime. But also one thing I've started doing is just doing like recent pickups. Like nobody necessarily wants to see me open a box. Maybe they do. The algorithm says they want to see me open boxes, but I like just saying, hey, here's some stuff I got recently. And saving some time on opening boxes on camera and stuff. But yeah, never really liked most of Frank Miller's stories for Batman. Year One was good. Dark Knight Returns universe is just not for me. I really enjoyed Year One. I read the Dark Knight Returns, most of it. I don't think I read the whole Dark Knight Returns, actually. I definitely haven't read the sequels. I watched the Dark Knight Returns movie. I need to read the Dark Knight Returns. Part of me wanted to get more Batman under my belt before I read the Dark Knight Returns. I think I've got enough Batman under my belt now. I'm gonna read the Dark Knight Returns. I'll do a retro reviews on it. You a fan of Matt Fraction writing? His style is cool, like Jeff Lemire. I've not read anything by Matt Fraction. I know he does a book called Sex Criminals, and for obvious reasons, that's not on my radar. He does other stuff though. He had like an Iron Man run, I think. I don't know what Matt Fraction's writing that I would like be interested in right now. But there might be like older stuff that he's done that are also of interest. Hi BJ, how are you? I'm good, BJ. How are you? What omnis do you have pre-ordered? So what's in the mail, the 52 omnibus, Justice League New 52 Volume 2. And that's actually all that I have pre-ordered. I do have other books on my wish list, like all of the Black Panther omnis that are coming later this year. I'm definitely trying to buy those. But yeah, I stopped pre-ordering stuff because money. But when I have extra funds, I buy extra stuff. Any popular writers or artists that just don't appeal to you? For example, I've never connected with Jeff Johns' writing or John Romita Jr.'s art. John Romita Jr. is the answer to that question. His older stuff is fine. His newer stuff is like not for me. Is the best way I can say that. All that said, I'm 7 issues into his Spider-Man run. I read Spider-Man number 7 last night and enjoyed it well enough despite the artwork. But yeah, John Romita Jr. is not for me. Although he's a great guy, I met him at Heroes Con and really enjoyed our interaction. It was really cool. And my friend Chris, who was in the chat earlier, is a big John Romita Jr. fan. And he met John Romita Jr. He paid a bunch of money for a private experience. That sounds weird. But he paid a bunch of money to meet John Romita Jr. And the next day, when we stood in line to get a signature from John Romita Jr., he remembered him. He was like, "Hey, it's nice to see you again, Chris." And I was like, "Yo, that's dope. Like, that's dope." So John Romita Jr. is a class act. It looks like he still works out quite a bit. He's got like 18 earrings in one ear. And we talked about the Yankees versus the Mets. Very cool dude. But his art style as of late is not my favorite. Yo, good seeing you, Tim. Thanks for being here, man. I'm gonna wrap this up here in a second too. Um, Let me know how you like She-Hulk. I'm probably not gonna watch it, but let me know how you like it. If you had the chance to be a superhero for a day, what would you do? Save the world? I guess. That seems like the right answer, right? Got no pre-orders for once in 2 years right now. No extra cash right now for comics, but it's nice to finally start reading through all my unopened collection. Word. Word. All right. This is going to be the last question for the night, and I'm going to wrap this thing up. At the next Hellfire Gala, if you could choose the next lineup, who would your X-Men team be? Storm, Wolverine, Jean, Magneto. And I don't think you can have a team without Cyclops. I feel like, yeah, you got to have Cyclops. Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm, Magneto, Jean. Yeah, make Magneto an X-Men again. That's my lineup. Whoa. It looks like it's time to go. Now that we got a bunch of freaking spam in the chat. Read any White Panther lately? No. Interested in hosting a panel? If so, what type of topic would you want to discuss? I really want to host a Milestone panel, preferably the 30th anniversary Milestone panel at San Diego Comic-Con in 2023. That's a lofty goal, but that's my goal. But either way, whether it's a 30th anniversary panel or not, whether it's at San Diego or not, I would love to be able to host a Milestone panel as the moderator and have like as many Milestone creators there as possible. Like Dennis, Reggie, Derek, Priest would be cool. And then like some of the editors, the writers like Joe Illidge, Noel Giddings, Jason Scott Jones, a lot of people. It'd be a big panel. Michael Davis, that's who I was missing. Michael Davis. Yeah, I'd want all those people there, and I want to be able to ask them like whatever I wanted, but for an audience. That'd be the coolest thing. Which comics is your pick of the week? Out of what I bought for this week, I started sorting my books already. So I don't even know if all of this week's books are here. That's my Dark Crisis stack. I don't know. What did I say? What did I say was going to be my pick of the week? You know what? Duo number 4. Really enjoyed it. Still my favorite book I've read so far this week. But I've been reading stuff from the last like 3 weeks all together. So it all blurs together. But Duo number 4 definitely came out this week, and I definitely read it yesterday. And I enjoyed it. So with that, it's 8:30. It's been here about an hour and a half. I want to say thank you to all of you for sticking with me in the chat. For those who are interested in these sneakers, there will be a review of them coming soon because I'm obligated to do so. For those interested in comics, lucky for you. That's what I do like every other day. So more of that is coming very soon. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Hope you saw something you liked in this video. And if not, that's cool. You can always buy what you like. Just make sure you read what you buy. And be nice to others, because kindness makes the world go round. Peace.